Well, hello there, people. It's been a while. Belgrade beat on the street once again. I'm back in the city right now after spending 9 months in Thailand, and I wanted to make this video about Russians in Belgrade. So yeah, I mostly live in Thailand now. I'm not a resident of Serbia anymore, as my video last May said, which was the last video on this channel. So I still have a life here. I still have an apartment here. I still have my country home in Shumadia. So I really plugged back into this place very easily. I arrived from Thailand on Monday and spent some really good time in Shumadia, and then was ready for Belgrade. Since I've been back, I've been collecting opinions and sort of like impressions about this sort of phenomenon of what some people estimate are about 200 to 300,000 Russians in Serbia. I guess mostly in Belgrade. Living here, obviously, to escape the wartime society and the sanctions that have been placed on Russia, and have a normal life in Serbia. And yeah, I mean, I was one of the first people on this channel when the war started suggesting that this would really be a good place for anyone from Belarus, Russia, or Ukraine to come and live, because it's a compatible society and a very welcoming place that has a lot of, brotherhood with other Slavic nations. And yeah, obviously the Ukrainians got a free ticket to the West and went to places like the United Kingdom and other countries where they could get, easier work. And a lot of the Russians came here because this is one of the countries where they could come, Georgia as well. Also, we have a lot in Thailand on my island of Koh Phangan, and also Israelis there in Thailand. And these are my people. Actually, these are my people. These are the people who want to avoid the war. These are the people who work online in the IT industry like I do. And if I was from Russia, I wouldn't be in Russia right now. I'd be in a place just like this. So let's just talk about something which I think needs to be talked about before we go into the details of Russians in Belgrade, which is Serbia's love for Russian culture, and some Serbs, how they sort of idealize Russia and stuff like that. I always said, since I came to Serbia the first time in 2008 and, traveled to Ukraine so many times, that Serbia probably wouldn't love Russia as much if half their country had been Russified linguistically, and if, all this sort of, their Serbian language was at risk of extinction because of the Russian language being, forced institutionally and Russians dominating their country politically. If Serbia was in the position of Ukraine, they probably wouldn't love Russia the same way that some Serbs tend to. So that's just food for thought. But that's a very different thing. The types of Russians that are coming here are very educated and sort of educated middle class sort of Russians who work in the IT industry, very young sort of population, and they're coming here for a better life, to escape, possibly being drafted into the military, to escape living in a society that's got wartime sort of suppression of free speech going on, and to come and sort of live a really nice free life here in Serbia. So yeah, the city's changing because of them, because there's just so many of them. And you really see it. You really see it. Especially here on the streets of Dorchel. Right now I'm walking past the mosque on the street Jevremova. And you'll see on the corner that's coming up, it's actually like 3 of the 4 corners of Tsara Urosha and Jevremova have Russian sort of restaurants on them. So it's really interesting. But none of them have signs in Cyrillic. None of them really have much Russian written on it. But it just sort of makes you think wow, is it that? Yeah. Basically I've been collecting impressions from friends here in Belgrade who are living in these neighborhoods, Vračar and Dorchel. And basically they say they're not integrating. That's the main point that they have. So this is one of the places. There's another place. and the third one is up there. So the main criticism is of the Russian community here now, that they're not integrating, they don't speak very good English, they're not learning Serbian, they're just staying in their little bubble. I can cut them a little bit of slack for this, because imagine leaving your homeland in these circumstances. Imagine having to come involuntarily to a country just so you could keep on working online as a developer or whatever it is. And imagine, like, you're not gonna wanna learn a language, and it's hard to learn a language in 6 months. For me to get, relatively fluent and have conversations in Serbian, it was years. Of course, it's harder for us native English speakers to learn things because of our mentality. And I think Russians have a similar sort of thing because they've got like a imperialist language and culture, just like we in the English-speaking language and culture do. It's sort of like our language is the center of lots of different, like Russian language controls, has the lingua franca status in Central Asia and all of those post-Soviet republics and stuff like that. So the mentality that's in this is also, Russia is the biggest country in the world, and it got that way because it has a imperialist mentality. And so it doesn't really lend to learning languages, but I think you'll see that this will change over time, as if there's, right now there seems to be no end in sight to the war. And over time I think you'll see that they will learn probably Serbian, speak better English, and the communities will integrate a lot more, and cut them a little slack. But it is a barrier right now. It is a barrier that they're not integrating basically into the society here. They're kind of ghettoizing themselves in mentality while living in this community with us. So I hope to see that change, because on the island in Thailand where I live, the Russians are really part of the scene that I've created. Yeah, they have a little bit of that isolation, staying in their own groups, but, for example, coming to see my band at my venue, lots of Russians come and enjoy partying with us and speak English and all that sort of stuff. So it's good. The other impression that my friends have given me are something like along the lines of, these are the most efficient and well-organized migrants ever. Meaning opening up these restaurants, getting all this stuff going on, all of the social media channels where they're communicating and stuff like that, the happenings that are the parties that are going on. It's all very well organized. And these are people, I have one friend, Tal, who was talking to a lot of them because he's a native Russian speaker. And these are people who came from St. Petersburg and Moscow, left their lives there and came here. They find Belgrade a little bit less cosmopolitan than those places. And I suppose it would be. I've only been to Moscow once in 2011. Haven't been to Petersburg. So it's a little bit of an adaptation. So you can imagine transplanting these people from this type of community. They're used to being cosmopolitan people in sort of business or cultural center cities, and they're doing it here. And I think it's a good thing, because Belgrade, needs a shakeup. I really feel that Belgrade and Serbian culture and specifically the way that things are run here in terms of restaurant service, all that sort of stuff, needs a shake-up, needs more efficiency, needs new ideas. And it seems that the Russians are bringing that, despite also being Eastern European Slavs. Russia's, much bigger and more economically powerful and organized country than Serbia, right? So, their culture provides efficiencies, what I wrote in my notes here, so think about that. And yes, the prices are going up. The prices of apartments has gone up a lot, and prices in cafes have gone up. Prices pretty much everywhere have gone up in Belgrade, and it's hard to watch, and I sympathize for the local people who may be struggling because of this. It's just inevitable, and it's a shame to watch. And with this digital nomad movement, and a lot of these people are working online and getting great salaries from the US or whatever, prices will go up, and it's just inevitable. So if you're not working online and you're from Serbia already, get working online, I guess. That's my advice. That was my dream when I moved here full-time in 2013. Basically, I wanted to live in Belgrade and work online. Now I live in Serbia and Thailand and work online and get to travel around the world, build a successful business on remote working. And yeah. So to conclude this video, I would like to see more integration between Serbs and Russians and other foreigners and the Russians, and sort of get a lot more cultural exchange going on, especially if they're going to be here to stay. And whatever influence they're going to have is going to be a fresh influence on the city. And it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to watch. Definitely interesting to have seen the changes over the last 9 months since I was here last August. Yeah. And definitely interesting to compare the different Russian communities here and in Copenhagen in Thailand, where I live. And yeah, so tell me guys, what do you think about the Russians in Belgrade and how they're fitting into the community, the establishments and events that they're organized, and generally what's your feeling of the people? Do you like them? Are you afraid of what's going to happen to the city because of this migration and the Russians settling here? And what are your thoughts? Write them in the comments. And I'll catch you in the next video, whenever that will be. Catch you guys later.